Okay, next thing we're going to do to the Mac 1900 is I've been chasing down the rumble, and let me explain to you what I think is going on, what I'm going to do, and how I got there. So you see some blue tape on this multi-stage cap, multi-can cap, and I think this is the 3-can cap if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is the three section can, or three cap can, whatever you want to call it. So turn it on, and I actually have two things going on. So number one, turn it on. There's this rumble on the right channel. First I thought it was only FM. It's not only FM, it's all of the inputs, but it's very hit and miss. It'll happen every time I power it on, then it'll only happen occasionally. So in troubleshooting that, right, so the first thing I did is I removed the jumpers, and I also have a channel imbalance. That same channel is weaker than, so the right channel is weaker than the left channel. And I have an interesting way to deal with that if your volume potentiometer is bad that I'll share if this doesn't, well, maybe I'll share anyway. So anyway, so what I did is I removed the jumpers, ran a signal directly into the amplifier, perfectly balanced sound, no rumble. So I was like, aha. Just to confirm though, what I did was I swapped outputs, no change, swapped boards, no change. So I thought, okay, pulled the jumpers, it's got to be in the preamp. So before I went crazy trying to troubleshoot anything in it, everything it could be, I swapped the two boards, the two preamp boards, no change. So I'm thinking, what on earth is causing this issue? Now the volume potentiometers on this will cease tracking. So you've got two wafers, right, in the volume control, and then you have the little control arms. I don't remember, maybe wipers. And what they do is when you turn, so you got these two wafers, round wafers, and you have these two little arms. When you turn the volume, both of those arms should track each other, right? And they should track each other at the same speed. There's no play in this switch or this potentiometer, so I don't think one of them is loose, because what'll happen is, I think if you turn it off and you use too much torque, or you turn it on or you move it too far to the right, it'll loosen up that arm, or it'll loosen up the shaft on the wafer. There's also a little carbon film, right, on the wafer that will, over time, you can develop, like it'll open up, right? You can develop a crack in it or something like that. So, so anyway, it could be the volume control pot. That might be the problem, and that would, if it's arcing, it might cause that rumbling noise, which I don't think so. There's an occasional pop, so I'm not sure if that's the problem. But if I tap this can, right? If I tap this can, if I move this can when it's making the rumbling sound, it seems to affect the right channel. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to, and I'm not going to pull this and restuff it. What I'm going to do is there's enough room underneath to where I can disconnect the cap, and then I can run 3 capacitors, right, to the leads on the cap, right? In essence, I'm bypassing this physical cap and I'm replacing it with 3 individual caps going to write the leads or the locations where they're supposed to go. So since this is the 3 segment cap, I'm looking for my little pointer, and I don't know where it is, my little plastic one, right? So here's what we're looking at. You can see this. So I believe it's over here. We have where it says 506B, and then there's a 506A. Notice how there's a little symbol next to it, right? There's a D, and then there's a square. And so this multi-stage or multi-capacitor can, right? We've got, I was going to highlight these and I didn't. Oh my gosh, I got something in my throat this morning. Oh yeah, so here's 506C, right? So that's one of the caps. There's a triangle. 506B, there's the letter D there, and 506A is the square right there. And you can see, right, so you have the capacitor, you have the positive lead going to where the square would be. And then once I turn this over, you can kind of make more sense of it. But notice how there's A, B, and C for this 3 capacitor can. And then the other one, the 4, right, we have A, B, C, and then D is over here, right? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to flip this over and kind of show you what we're dealing with. All right, so here's the bottom of the can. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Right, you can see, right, so these are where the cap, you probably can't make these out, but these are little twisted lugs. So to remove this can, we would disconnect, right, unsolder all these wires. We would twist these, and then we could drop that can down. I'm going to keep the can there though, so aesthetically it looks complete. But, and if you count the number of leads coming out of the can, we have 1, 2, 3. And then I don't know if you can see this or not, but right here we have, and on the outside, right, we have a little triangle. Let me see if I can get some light in here. Here's my flashlight. See if I can get some light here. So see that little triangle? You can kind of make out a triangle here, and then a triangle cut out here, and then here we have a square right there. There's a square cut out on the back, and here we have the letter D, and I would assume there's a D cut out, and there is on the other side of that. Right, so we kind of know where the caps are going to go. Now luckily the person that put the kit together did this, and they took a picture of it, and they have it out on a website. So when you buy the kit, they give you the URL. So I can use that as a guide, make sure I get this all connected properly. But what I'm going to do is desolder, right, the wires, and then I'm going to use, right, if you notice, one of these twisted, right, one of these little twisted clips or clamps, right, is a ground. So this is like a ring where it's a ground. So what I'm going to end up doing is capacitor positive lead to ground, capacitor positive lead to ground, capacitor positive lead to ground, right? And I'm gonna put all these resistors back, and there's a diode here. Maybe it's on the other one. I thought there was a diode here somewhere. At least there's a diode in the picture that he took, but there are manufacturing variances in these Mac 1900s. So that's what I'm going to do now. Unfortunately, my battery is just about toast, and I hate telling you that, but I only have a little bit of time to do this morning. So understanding what I'm going to do, I'm going to go charge this, and then I'm going to spend some time desoldering these leads and putting the new caps in. I'll come back when that's done and then further explain to you what I did. I'm going to do this can first, see what that does to that rumble. And then the 4 can cap, so the one next to it, same principle. You can see triangle, square, D, right? And then we have this other lead here where it's bridged across there. So if I get to this one, or if I decide to do this one, I will come back and we'll talk about that. So I'm going to break away and take care of this can, or bypass this can, I should say. I just wanted to take a minute and kind of explain to you what those symbols mean in terms of the schematic. So that way, if you ever need to verify what you have going on with the schematic and how you're building those caps, right, you can kind of verify what you've done. So if you look at the schematic, number one, you can identify what, the cap based on the location and the part number, or the cap number, not the part number, but the cap number. And then you can, those symbols that I was pointing out, you can see that there's a triangle, there's a square, and then sometimes you have to dig. So there's a square, there's a D, right? This is cap 506, this is cap 506 or 505. So you can kind of find the symbols to figure out what's positive, what's negative. Let's say you get one of these and the cans are gone, or you didn't take pictures or whatever. You can use the schematic and go through and figure out where everything is supposed to be connected. And I did, look, when I edited the video, I was pointing at the diode when I'm like, where's the diode? I don't see the diode, right? Well, the diode was right in front of my pointer. So anyway, just wanted to add this real quick. Okay, so the 3 cap can is done. I tested it, I get sound. The rumble is still there. So I may have to reach out to some of the fine folks on Audio Karma and the McIntosh forum and see if they can help me figure out exactly what might be causing that issue. So you can kind of see what I did here. What I did with the old tabs was I desoldered the wires going into them, and then I bent them over and I put some shrink tube on them just to insulate them. So I kind of like, I folded them in like this, so they're folded in. And then you can see where I zip tied the 3 caps. The 1 cap is here, right? So it was negative. So from this is a 220 microfarad cap. So negative to this post here, which is connected to this diode. And then positive comes to the other end of this resistor here, right? So that's this cap. Yeah, that's this cap. It's bent. I just making sure I had it right. And then with this cap, 220 ground here, right? And this goes to the other end of the diode, going to that grounding post there. And then this is the 1000 microfarad. I think this was 100. I don't remember what the voltage is on it. Might be 50. I can't see. I didn't look at it before I put it in. Zip tied here. It is grounded. The ground lead is connected to the post. I just had to cut it short just because if and when I do this other cap, I'm gonna have to put a cap up here. So I couldn't flip it up that way because it wouldn't quite fit right. And then the positive comes to this green wire here. Since this green wire is kind of flopping around, I did put a little shrink tube on the end of it, just where I have it connected, just in case. I mean, this isn't going to go anywhere, but wanted to make sure that is good. Okay, so I have the rumble, I have the channel imbalance. I want to show you something. Because here's the deal with these McIntosh 1900s, 1700s. I'm going to zoom out. So the volume controls, as I mentioned earlier, are known to go bad. They're a combination power and volume control switch. And over time, they stop tracking. The carbon film goes open, and you have all sorts of issues. So it's very, very common if you have one of these to constantly, if you have the original pot and it's in bad shape, as most of them are, it's very common for it not to track left to right. So you get more volume out of one channel than the other. I believe that's what's going on with this one. I contacted McIntosh, and as of today, they actually sell, McIntosh themselves, they sell volume controls for the 1900. However, I read that someone purchased one on one of the forums, I think Audio Karma, and the user said that they no longer control the power. So you have to have a power switch to actually control the power, and it's just volume control, which is not a big deal. With that imbalance though, I have to turn the volume, the balance control, to about the 3 o'clock position. So I'm turning it about halfway to the maximum on the right channel to get the channels to even out. Now, if you're like me, you don't like the aesthetic of that, even though I can't see it from across the room. I know that it's that way. It drives me crazy. So one thing that I tried that I saw someone else mention this. Instead of using a jumper, right, I have a whole bunch of these little RCA ends. I put 170, I think it's 170K, might be 150K. And I use different sizes, and I just don't remember where I landed. But I actually use this as the jumper for the right channel, and the balance control is right in the middle. Now, as I turn the volume control because that volume pot, it does have issues. Sometimes it'll bump the right channel up a little bit or the left channel up a little bit. But again, that's just because there's play in that, and that's what happens with these. And that is, it's probably 1/10 of the imbalance, or if even that, maybe 1/20th of the imbalance that was there before. So while I figure out what I'm going to do with this, and I'm planning on doing this other can, and I will come back around after I do that one, because this one only took me about maybe 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Make sure I got everything clean and, you know, presentable in there. If that doesn't solve the rumbling, then I'm gonna have to just, again, I'm gonna go out, talk to the folks on Audio Karma until I figure out the volume control. I may do this though, just for the aesthetic, because again, this worked just fine. Right? You kind of see, these unscrew. So I think I have one down here that I can show you. Yeah, so this is what they look like, right? So you can unscrew them. These are old school, so these aren't, I'm sure you can buy modern equivalent substitutions for this, but I just unscrew that, right? And then run the resistor through that middle post there. And it's aluminum, so you can't solder to it, but just kind of wedge it in there and don't wiggle it too much, right? You don't want to lose your channel. So anyway, camera's not done charging, so I might let the camera charge and then come back later on today in a couple hours and do this other cap, see if that addresses that issue. I also found, you can see it right here, I found a 2.41 watt. So this is 2.2. There was no resistor in here, so I put two 4.7K, right? This is 2.4K. I put two 4.7K in here, half watt to make this, but I found a stash of these, so I popped that in there. I didn't like how it looked, so I may replace that one with a 2.4 as well. Or I have an order list for a 2.2. I'll probably just order the 2.2 and see what happens. So anyway, enough rambling. I'm going to go on to doing this other can, and then I'll pick it up when I'm done and we'll see what the net result is. Okay, so here's the other can. Now it's a 4-section can, but it's because it was wired. So here's how it was set up. So these came into a post on this side, and again, these have all been folded down. I got some shrink tubing on top just to insulate them, and it was actually bridged across. So in effect, the schematic says it's 4 cans, but it's effectively a 3-can capacitor, because you had 50 connected to 150, right, on this side. So it was 50 across to 150, and then you've got 80 and you have 80. So these were replaced with 82. 82 is actually down here, right? 82 is here, connected to this wire and that ground post. And then this is 220 for that 50 and 150. And I did not put shrink tubing on this. I will try to do that. But and I'm sure this will make a liar out of me, but I believe I put this to tape. And again, I'm kind of bypassing let me zoom out. I'm bypassing the power switch. The rumble is gone so far. Yeah, no more rumble. No more rumble. Still have a channel imbalance though. Still have a pretty good channel imbalance. I'm just going to flip it to FM real quick here, just to show you I have sound. Whoops. I had it on phone. It's upside down. Hard for me to figure out what's going on. So, again, still have the channel imbalance. So, and then if I unplug this, what it would do is it would also make the rumble noise, and unplug it and the rumble sound is gone. So it was this cap, not this cap. So I'm sure when I was tapping this one, vibrations, and then I noticed as I would kind of tap on the bottom of this, I could hear it through the right speaker. So I think that I'm going to call, I hesitate to call this done for now, but at least bypassing these multi-section cans, that part of the project is done. Again, this is one way to do it. I have another 1900 in the queue. So what I may do with that one is I may either pull, well, I don't want to pull these cans. So I may actually stuff the cans in the other one, because I think that would be an interesting video. There are no videos that I could find out there where someone bypassed this on YouTube. So if you are looking to, again, bypass, I don't know if that's the correct terminology. If you want to bypass these cans, this is how I did it. And again, this came from a kit that I bought off of eBay from Peace, Love, and Music. And this is almost identical to how he configured his. So giving him credit, he was the inspiration for making sure that everything was connected correctly. So anyway, I'm going to call this good for now until I figure out what's going on with the volume pot, what I want to do there. I think I may probably run it. I'm going to put a resistor in spot of, or in place of the left channel jumper back here. Oops, let me zoom out. Left channel jumper back here. So I get that nice balanced sound, and fart around with this for a little bit while I think about volume pots over here. While I think about exactly what to do about that thing. Because I don't know what else, there's nothing else I can eliminate at this point. Swapping output, swapping amp boards, swapping preamp boards, and there's a channel imbalance. So it's got to be, I'm at the point where I'm fairly confident it's the issue that all of these have, and it's that pot. So anyway, as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.